Joining me now from Washington, D.C., President of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton. All right, Tom, let's kind of reset here. What do we have so far from Robert Mueller? We have, by my count, this most recent plea to perjury by General Flynn, not unlike the Paul Manafort investigation or that arm of the investigation. You have one perjury charge on one end, you have another perjury charge on another, and two people pleading apparently guilty to these. But that's what we have so far. So here's the question. Is this the tip of the iceberg? Is this General Flynn about to flip on somebody else, maybe a bigger fish? Or is this all that Robert Mueller has?
Well, we're still not talking about Russia collusion, which is what he was hired to do. General Flynn admitted to lying to the FBI about meetings he had after the election, and meetings that were perfectly legitimate and legal, and meetings that were spied upon by the Obama administration and illegally leaked by the Obama administration. The Obama-run Justice Department, the Trump-run Justice Department, Sally Yates, Obama's holdover official, was running the Justice Department. She and Comey sent FBI agents to ambush Flynn at the White House, and reportedly the FBI concluded initially he didn't lie. I want to know what changed.
Right. So
I don't think Mueller has anything. And given the revelations this weekend, the leaks out of Mueller's operation and the DOJ, they were not admissions. These were leaks designed to preempt, I think, an IG report that would have exposed it. They were keeping secret the fact that one of their key investigators was an anti-Trumper and pro-Hillary. So I think this whole thing is a mess. Mueller isn't investigating the Russia collusion as traditionally understood. All these big indictments and plea deals have nothing to do with Russia, that's the thing he was hired to do. We got Turkey, we got mortgage fraud, we got lying about meetings after the election, but nothing about collusion with the Russians to rig the election. And it's concerning, not only given the fact that we're spending all this money, but it looks like a political operation more than anything else.
I would throw in there that the National Security Advisor-to-be under the incoming Trump administration during the transition period necessarily is going to be reaching out to foreign entities. So this idea of enforcing, quote, the Logan Act, which is essentially designed to keep U.S. citizens from meddling in international affairs that could have broad consequences to the people of the United States, that doesn't apply here. This is not an individual United States citizen coming forward and say, hey, I'm going to negotiate with Russia on behalf of the United States. This is a national security advisor. This is an incoming presidential administration. It makes absolutely no sense.
It doesn't make any sense, and it's a big lie. It was a pretext to go after the Trump team and specifically General Flynn. The Logan Act is basically never enforced, and you would never obviously enforce it against an incoming administration that was talking to foreign leaders. It's absurd, it's corrupt, and if I were President Trump, I would demand the Mueller operation explain itself. Reportedly, his appointee, Mr. Rosenstein, is supposed to be monitoring this. What is going on over at the Justice Department that Mueller is able to do all of this without sufficient oversight?
This is what I sense, Tom. I believe that it's the deep state. It's the so-called maybe fourth branch of government, and I don't believe that the Trump administration issued enough pink slips when they came in, and they didn't get rid of the Obama holdovers, or for that matter, the Clinton holdovers. They should have pink slipped everybody. From what I understand, that wasn't done. But when we go back to the Flynn matter, that brings us to presidential...
Well, hold on a second. Rod Rosenstein is an appointee of President Trump.
Right.
He's the #2 official of the Justice Department. Rosenstein knew, it looks like, about this FBI agent who was an anti-Trumper. What's his excuse for keeping it from the American people for 5 months? He still hasn't owned up to what went on over at the FBI. The director of the FBI, Robert Ray, I think his first name is Ray. His last name is Ray. I forget what his first name is. He obviously must have known about this, and they've been covering it up. No excuse. It's not the deep state in this regard. It's the top state. President's appointees are doing him no favors because they're more concerned about, I think, about what the press is going to be about their actions than doing the right thing.
And you know what? They also work for this president, the 45th president of the United States. And if Donald Trump wants to fire any of these people, and he has the authority to do so, he shouldn't feel afraid to let these people go. But I want to go to the tweets that people were talking about this weekend. Presidential tweet number 1 of interest reads, "I had to fire General Flynn because he lied to the vice president of the FBI. He has pled guilty to those lies. It's a shame because his actions during the transition were lawful. There was nothing to hide." Okay, so this set the mainstream media off over the weekend saying, oh, well, because he knew that General Flynn lied and then tells Comey to drop the investigation, well, then that is obstruction of justice, which produced presidential tweet number 2, which clarified, according to President Trump, what was going on. "I never asked Comey to stop investigating Flynn, just more fake news covering another Comey lie." So we've learned a few things here. Among them, number 1, the first tweet apparently was sent out by the president's attorney. And that same attorney, Tom, said something interesting. And that is, he believes that the president cannot be charged with obstruction of justice because he's the top law enforcement officer in the land. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think anybody in this country could be charged with obstruction of justice. But I think I understand what he's saying, and that is, if he wants to fire the FBI director, that is James Comey, he has the constitutional authority to do so.
Well, that's right. I think in theory, maybe, I don't know whether he could be charged with obstruction of justice. But in this case, assuming he told Comey to see it in his heart, maybe to give Flynn a break, and that's a big assumption because, you know, the president denies he said that. But the president is the chief law enforcement officer. He is the head of the executive branch. He is allowed to have an opinion and express it about Justice Department investigations. In fact, he could have told Mr. Comey right then and there, "I don't want you wasting our resources on this jihad against Mr. General Flynn. Cut it out. I know he didn't do anything wrong. If you got a problem with it, you can resign. But I'm saying no to this." And he could have, and it would have been within his rights, and it would have been lawful. Now, the check on abuses in that regard is the impeachment power. And are they going to start impeaching presidents because he's telling the Justice Department how to not to abuse its powers in targeting people like General Flynn? I don't think so.
All right,
so I think neither legally or practically or morally was this obstruction of justice, assuming the conversation occurred, as Comey said. And I don't trust Comey.
All right, so bottom line here, to wrap this thing up, it seems as though we have a problem at the FBI and possibly at the Department of Justice as well, where we find out, of course, this investigator with the FBI was tainted and was sending anti-Trump missives around our federal government, apparently. We know that there was some sort of collusion between the FBI and the Department of Justice over the meeting on the tarmac between President Clinton and Loretta Lynch. So we know there's a problem there. And now we know that Congress, some members of Congress are actually talking about contempt charges, possibly, for the FBI and the Department of Justice, certain people in there. And I think that might be the best solution to all this. Hold these people accountable.
You know, I think the Mueller operation's out of control, though. And I think there at least, I think it ought to be shut down, but at least there's got to be a pause till we figure out whether it was corrupted, as I think it was, by the actions of this FBI agent. He's no lower level clerk in the FBI. He was one of the top officials in the FBI on counterintelligence matters. He was heavily involved in the Clinton email investigation, a key decision maker there, and as a counterintel top leader in the FBI, certainly involved with the Trump-Russia issue, the dossier, the targeting of Flynn. He may have been involved in all of that. My gosh, no wonder Mueller kept this a secret for 5 months.
Right.